Hello, my lovely rose garden. This is Avalon.
And Ray.
And just from the brief skim that I did of this chapter, it's all just filler bullshit.
Oh, great.
Like,
My favorite.
like most of the middle of this book has been.
Mm.
Fun.
Most of this book has been filler bullshit, let's be real. We've had maybe about 5 chapters worth of actual plot.
Or character development. What the fuck is character development?
Character development is non-existent.
And most of it has happened with Dorian or implied with Nehemia.
Yeah.
The two people who should actually be the leads of the book. Yeah, let's get into it. The next evening, Kale Westfall. Oh, then also a little bit Kale.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Kale should be the main, but he should be Dorian's best friend / love interest.
Yeah.
Or they could just have a polycule of Kale, Nehemia, and Dorian. Dorian has two hands.
Nehemia doesn't have to put up with that. Nehemia doesn't want to get in the way of whatever the fuck idiocy is going on over there. She's got shit going on already.
Okay.
She doesn't need a relationship right now.
Let me propose to you.
What?
A
Again?
Anyway, a lavender marriage
Uh-huh.
between Nehemia and Dorian,
Uh-huh.
while Dorian is actually with Kaol,
Uh-huh.
and Nehemia is with a better version of Alyssocles.
Oh. I can't picture a better version though. I'm just over here like, I don't want Alyssocles here.
Yeah, but like a competent, like the version that we have talked about.
What we need is her to have hired Alyssocles as the assassin to kill the king.
Yes.
And
yes.
And
yes.
And she's like posing as one of Nehemia's ladies in waiting, and also they're off over there doing sapphic shit, just like
yes. 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 I love your brain.
I know, my brain is massive and throbbing. That's
had-
why I get so many migraines.
It must be. They had to nerf you.
They had to nerf me somehow, or else I'd be too powerful.
All right. The next evening, Kaol Westfall stood on the second floor of the castle, looking over the courtyard. Below him, 2 figures slowly wove through the hedges. Alyssocles' white cloak made her easy to spot. Dumb bitch. And Dorian...
Bitch, why are you wearing a white cloak? There is no reason to ever wear a white cloak.
Like, even if she's not meant to be sneaking around, just that's gonna get dirty.
Yeah. It's all like a cloak.
White outer garments?
Yeah.
No.
Girl.
Girl. And Dorian could always be noticed by the empty circle of space around him. He should be down there, a foot behind, watching them, making sure she didn't seize Dorian and use him to escape. Logic and years of experience screamed at him to be with them, even though 6 guards trailed them. She was deceitful, cunning, vicious. In the last chapter, she was suffering from period cramps so hard that you walked away, like... But he couldn't make his feet move. Hi, Winnie. Hi, baby girl. I just feel a little nudge at my knee, and there she is.
Pay attention to me.
You're so cute. You're such a good girl. You want up on the lap? You want up? No. Okay. You don't have to.
I don't want to be closer to that book.
With each day, he felt the barriers melting. He let them melt. Because of her genuine laugh. Because he caught her one afternoon sleeping with her face in the middle of a book. Because he knew that she would win. She was
her sleeping with her face in the middle of the book. It's all like, people are getting murdered. Bitch.
She was a criminal, a prodigy at killing, a queen of the underworld. And yet
Is she though?
Is she though? She was just a girl sent at 17 to Endovier. It made him sick every time he thought about it. He'd been training with the guards at 17, but he'd still lived here, still had a roof over his head and good food and friends. Dorian had been in the middle of courting Rosamond when he was that age, not caring about anything. But she, at 17, had gone to a death camp and survived. He wasn't sure if he could survive in Dovier, let alone during the winter months. He'd never been whipped, never seen anyone die. He'd never been cold and starving. Never seen anyone die. There's a murder plot happening. I guess, yeah, you haven't witnessed them in the act, but you've cleaned up the dead bodies.
Also, he's captain of the guard. He
You've
hasn't
seen
seen
some-
anyone die.
You've seen some shit, my dude. At least.
Like, there's multiple wars going on right now, and you haven't seen anyone die?
Also, I have allergies, so sorry about my sniffling. I know that's probably gross, but I'll try to keep it quiet.
Ew, you have biological functions?
Yeah, crazy. Alyssocles laughed at something Dorian said. She'd survived in Dovier and yet could still laugh. While it terrified him to see her down there, a hand's breadth from Dorian's unprotected throat, what terrified him even more was he trusted her, and he didn't know what that meant about himself.
You really shouldn't
But you
trust her.
suck.
She does not deserve trust at this point.
POV switch tilde. Alyssocles walked between the hedges and couldn't help but the smile that spread across her face. They walked closely, but not close enough to touch. Dorian had found her just moments after dinner and invited her for a walk. In fact, he'd shown up so quickly after the servants cleared away her food that she might have thought he'd been waiting outside. Of course, it was due entirely to the cold that she longed to link arms with him and absorb his warmth. The white fur-lined cloak did little to keep the frigid air from freezing all of her. The what? A fur-lined cloak did little to keep the frigid air from freezing you? Bullshit! I can go out in the snow in my little woolly sweater that's not even real fur,
Yeah.
and I'm fine. Like,
I'm just over here like, okay, so what is this cloak made of then? Silk? Like some cooling fabric? Because most cloaks are made, like, at least back then, if you're wearing a cloak, it's usually made of wool.
and it's fur-lined.
And it's fur-lined.
You should be very toasty.
Yeah. You should, if nothing else, be sweating your fucking ass off in that thing.
Yeah, like, I will buy that you're not sweating.
Yeah.
I will not buy that you're cold in that. Unless it is actively a blizzard is coming down on top of you right this second, you are not that cold. She could only imagine how Nehemia would react to such temperatures, but after learning about the fate of those rebels, the princess was spending most of her time in her rooms and had declined Alyssocles' repeated offer to go for walks.
Girl, no, we need you in this story. You make things slightly bearable.
Girl, come back. It had been over 3 weeks since her last encounter with Elena, and she hadn't seen or heard her at all, despite the 3 tests she'd had. We passed 3 more tests. The most exciting of which had been an obstacle course, which she passed with only a few minor scratches and bruises. Sure wish we got to see that.
Damn, wish we got to see that.
Babe, I'm gonna hold your hand when I read this. Unfortunately, Pelor hadn't done so well and had been sent home at long last.
Cool, I'm gonna go kill myself now.
Babe, no, you can't joke like that. Babe, no, you're gonna go host a talent show. Go host the best talent show this town's ever seen.
No, I'm gonna die. I can't believe that they
And then the murders were never solved.
They didn't even slaughter my boy.
They didn't even slaughter you. Look at how they didn't massacre your boy.
They didn't even massacre my boy.
But he'd been lucky. 3 other competitors had died. I don't even want to hang myself right now.
I don't even want to kill myself right now.
All found in forgotten hallways, all mutilated beyond recognition.
It would be so cool if maybe we got to see some of that. Instead of just being all like, oh, by the way, this happened.
I'm gonna say something really mean.
Say it.
I'm gonna say 2 things that are really mean.
Oh, no.
Mean thing number 1. This is also an ad read. 13-year-old me wrote better than this.
It's true, damn. You didn't, at least you weren't all like, oh,
Things were happening on the page,
Yeah,
at least.
things were happening on the page.
They were cringe as fuck,
You
but
didn't go back and be all like, oh, by the way, this happened, but
all this really important plot stuff was going on, but, you know, they had a conversation for the 18th time. Like, don't get me wrong. Middle school me's writing is bad. And you can witness that for yourself by becoming a supporter of either
Patreon,
Ko-fi, or signing up for a YouTube membership, with thing we have now.
Yeah.
Every Monday, we are reading and reacting to a chapter of my middle school soap opera ass cringe as fuck
hack
fanfiction that I would have sworn up and down at that age was not a fanfiction.
But it was.
So if you would like to enjoy that and see some of the infernal cringe that got me to somehow being at the level that I am at now, it is, I believe, $2 a month. And you get access to that. It is exclusive to supporters, so it will never be public. It will never be coming to the YouTube channel. I mean, it's...
You gotta pay for this primo cringe. Yeah, you gotta understand.
I can't just be letting people see that shit, okay? So that is supporter-only content. The only way to access it is by being a supporter of Roselin Books. And you get a bunch of other cool stuff as well. That's just one of the few things that only supporters will ever get to see. I will not make it public.
All right, ever. And then what's your second main thing?
My second main thing is that she does write the way that my students are writing.
Yes, your second grade and what? I mean, second and third, or second? Just second?
I have a straight second this year, okay. But not let me back up and explain this though. Because the group of students specifically that I'm talking about are at a higher grade level in terms of their reading and writing skills. Mm-hmm. I have a small group that I work with in the afternoons that is advanced for their age. Uh-huh. So they are learning how to write narratives.
Okay.
So they're still in sort of that phase of like, they don't understand tell versus show, and they're more just telling what the thing is about than just telling the story. So, like, when I read their writing, it reads more like they're writing about the story that they want to write instead of just writing the story.
Yeah.
Because they are small and they don't really get it yet, you know?
And they're not New York Times best-selling author.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of this was apparently written when she was a teenager, so maybe my feeling that my middle school writing is superior is not the big own that it might first appear to be.
Yeah, but like, you know, you'd think that she would kind of go over it and re-edit it.
Yeah, at least there's an adult active. Like, I would also not publish my middle school writing. That stays buried and for supporters only, and that's the last time I'll mention that. Okay. Let's see. Where was I? 3 competitors had died, all found and forgotten, blah, blah, blah. Even Elisocles had taken to jumping at every strange sound. There were only 6 of them left now. Cain, Grave, Knox, a soldier, and Renal, a vicious mercenary who'd stepped up to replace Varen as Cain's right-hand man.
A soldier? A man who... That's the next one to die. The soldier. The nameless fucking soldier.
It's the grave of the unnamed... Fuck. I mangled that all to hell. The tomb of the unknown soldier. God damn.
You did your best.
No.
But your best wasn't good enough.
I did not do my best. Oof. Anyway, yeah. Unnamed soldier's gonna die next. Mm-hmm. Not surprisingly, Renault's favorite new activity was taunting Elisocles. She shoved thoughts of the murders aside as they strode past a fountain, and she caught Dorian giving her an admiring glance from the corner of his eye. Of course, she hadn't been thinking of Dorian when she chose such a fine lavender gown to wear tonight, or when she made sure her hair was so carefully arranged, or that her white gloves were spotless. Again, you wearing white outside? God. What to do now, Dorian said. We've walked twice around the garden. Don't you have princely duties to attend to?
What princely duties? He hasn't done shit except sit in court and be bored.
Elisocles winced as a gust of icy wind blew back her hood and froze her ears. When she recovered the hood, she found Dorian staring at her throat. "What?" she asked, pulling her cloak tightly around her. "You always wear that necklace," he said. "Is it another gift?" Though she wore gloves, he glanced at her hand. There were where the amethyst ring always sat, and the spark died from his eyes. "No." She covered the amulet with her hand. "I found it in my jewelry box and like the look of it, you insufferably territorial man." "It's very old looking. Been robbing the royal coffer, have you?" He winked, but she didn't feel any warmth behind it. "No," she repeated sharply. Even though a necklace wouldn't protect her from the murderer, and even though Elena had some agenda she was being cagey about, Alysicles wouldn't take it off. Its presence somehow comforted her in the long hours she sat up watching her door. He continued staring at her hand until she lowered it from her throat. He studied the necklace. "When I was a boy, I used to read tales about the dawn of Aderlin. Gavin was my hero. I must have read every legend regarding the war with Erewhon." "How can he be that smart? He can't have figured it out so quickly." She tried her best to look innocently interested. "And?" "Elena, first queen of Aderlin, had a magical amulet. In the battle with the Dark Lord, Gavin and Elena found themselves defenseless against him. He was about to kill the princess when a spirit appeared and gave her the necklace, and when she put it on, Erewhon couldn't harm her. She saw the Dark Lord for what he was and called him by his true name. It surprised him so much that he became distracted and Gavin slew him." Dorian looked to the ground. "They called her necklace the Eye of Elena. It's been lost for centuries." How strange it was to hear Dorian, son of the man who had banished and outlawed all traces of magic, talking about powerful amulets. Still, she laughed as best she could. "And you think this trinket is the eye? I think it'd be bust by now." "I suppose not," he said, and vigorously rubbed his arms for warmth. "But I've seen a few illustrations of the eye, and your necklace looks like it. Perhaps it's a replica." "Perhaps." She quickly found another subject. "When's your brother arriving?" "Oh shit, Dorian's brother exists again."
Oh.
He looked skyward. "I'm lucky. We received a letter this morning that snows in the mountains prevented Holland from coming home. He's stuck at school until after his spring term, and he's beside himself." "Your poor mother," Alysicles said, half smiling. "She'll probably send servants to deliver his Yulma's presents regardless of the storm." Alysicles didn't hear him, and though they talked for a good hour afterward, meandering through the grounds, she couldn't get her heart to calm. Elena had to have known someone would recognize her amulet, and if this was the real thing, the king could kill her on the spot for wearing not only an heirloom of his house, but something of power. Yet again, she could only wonder what Elena's motives actually were. "Probably to make sure you don't get fucking killed, you idiot."
Yeah.
Time skip Tildy. I wonder if any trials will have happened.
Maybe. It's possible.
Alysicles glanced from her book to the tapestry on the wall. The chest of drawers remained where she'd shoved it in front of the passageway. She shook her head and returned to her book. Though she scanned the lines, none of the words registered. What did Elena want with her? Dead queens usually didn't come back to give orders to the living. No fucking shit. Alysicles clenched her book. It wasn't like she wasn't fulfilling Elena's command to win either. She would have fought this hard to become the king's champion anyway. And as for finding and defeating the evil in the castle, well, now that it seemed tied to who was murdering the champions, it always seemed that way. How could she not try to figure out where it was coming from? All right, so pausing here because we're a couple pages now into the chapter. The only new information we have gotten has been exposition from Dorian about this amulet.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else so far in this chapter has mattered one whit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel it changing anytime soon, but I could be wrong.
Is this just is this like one of those chapters in a fan fiction where you like go back and be all like, hey, by the way, I know this fan fiction is like 100 pages long, so I'm just gonna like reiterate some older points.
Yeah, it's a recap chapter. It's a clip show episode. A door shut somewhere inside her rooms, and Alysicles jumped, the book flying from her hands. She grabbed the brass candlestick beside her bed, ready to leap off the mattress, but lowered it as Philippa's humming filtered through the doors to her bedroom. She groaned as she climbed out of the warmth of her bed to retrieve her book. It had fallen under the bed, and Alysicles knelt upon the icy floor, straining to reach the book. She couldn't feel it anywhere, so she grabbed the candle. She saw the book immediately, tucked against the back wall, but as her fingers grappled onto the cover, a glimmer of candlelight traced a white line across the floor beneath her bed. Elisocles yanked the book back to her and stood with a jolt. Her hands trembled as she pushed the bed out of position, her feet slipping on the half-frozen floor. It moved slowly, but eventually she had shifted it enough to see what had been sketched on the floor beneath. Everything inside her turned to ice. Word marks. Oh, okay, there we go. I was wrong. Dozens of word marks had been drawn onto the floor with chalk. They formed a giant spiral, with a large mark in its center. Elisocles stumbled back, slamming into her dresser. What was this? She ran a shaking hand through her hair, staring at the center mark. She'd seen that mark. It had been etched on one side of Varen's body. Her stomach rising in her throat, she rushed to her nightstand and grabbed the pitcher of water atop it. Without a thought, she tossed the water onto the marks, then raced to her bathing chamber to draw more water. When the water had finished loosening the chalk, she took a towel and scrubbed the floor until her back ached and her legs and hands were frozen. Then, only then, did she throw on a pair of pants and tunic and head out the door. Or, hear me out, you could have gotten Kale first.
Yeah.
And been like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Someone's been in my room.
Yeah.
You know, that probably could have led to some discoveries.
Investigation. But instead all of the evidence is now gone. Congratulations. You have contaminated a crime scene, or an attempted crime scene.
It's like, on the one hand, something happened, so I'm happy about that. But it happened in the stupidest fucking way possible. Because you just almost got handed the identity of whoever's been doing this, assumedly, because if these are the same word marks that are being found near the body, and if Kale could find out if someone had been in her room, like, during the day, because assumedly there are guards watching these hallways, then that could have been a big clue about who did it. But you just washed all that shit off. And it's, yeah, even if they do find out, oh, so-and-so could have gone into your room, there's no evidence now. Fucking idiot. Very short time skip, Tildy. Don't even know why this Tildy is here. Thankfully, the guards didn't say anything when she asked them to escort her to the library at midnight. They remained in the main room of the library as she set off through the stacks, heading toward the musty, forgotten alcove where she'd found the majority of the books on the word marks. She couldn't walk fast enough and kept looking over her shoulder. Was she next? What did any of it mean? She wrung her fingers. She rounded a corner, not 10 stacks from the alcove, and came to a halt. Nehemia, seated at a small desk, stared at her with wide eyes. Elisocles put a hand on her racing heart. "Damn," she said. "You gave me a fright." Nehemia smiled, but not very well. Elisocles cocked her head as she approached the table. What are you doing here?" Nehemia demanded in Elway. "I couldn't sleep." She shifted her eyes to the princess's book. That wasn't the book they used during their lessons. No, it was a thick, aging book crammed with dense lines of text. "What are you reading?" Nehemia slammed the book shut and stood. Nothing. Elisocles observed her face. Her lips were pursed, and the princess lifted her chin. "I thought you couldn't read at that level yet." Nehemia tucked the book into the crook of her arm. "Then you're like every ignorant fool in this castle, Lillian," she said with perfect pronunciation in the common tongue. Not giving her a chance to reply, the princess strode away.
Damn, girl.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Elisocles watched her go. It didn't make sense. Nehemia couldn't read books that advanced, not when she still stumbled through lines of text. Girl, she just revealed to you that she has been fluent this whole fucking time. And Nehemia never spoke with that kind of flawless accent, and, in the shadows behind the desk, a piece of paper had fallen between the wood and the stone wall. Easing it out, Elisocles unfolded the crumpled paper. She whirled around to the direction where Nehemia had disappeared. Her throat constricting, Elisocles tucked the piece of paper into her pocket and hurried back toward the great room, the word mark drawn on the paper burning a hole in her clothing. Elisocles rushed down a staircase, then strode along a hallway lined with books. No, Nehemia couldn't have played her like that. And it does say that. Nehemia couldn't have played her like that. Which is just... I get that we've already been saying that Alyssa definitely knows what an iPhone is. But, wow, is that a modern turn of phrase?
Yeah.
Nehemia wouldn't have lied day after day about how little she knew. Nehemia had been the one to tell her that the etchings in the garden were word marks. She knew what they were. She'd warned her to stay away from the word marks again and again. Because Nehemia was her friend. Because Nehemia had wept when her people had been murdered. Because she'd come to her for comfort. But Nehemia came from a conquered kingdom, and the king of Aderlin had ripped the crown off her father's head and stripped his title from him, and the people of Elway were being kidnapped in the night and sold into slavery, right along with the rebels that rumor claimed Nehemia supported so fiercely, and 500 Elway citizens had just been butchered. I'm just going to finish it and then give my thoughts.
Yeah.
We're almost at the end. Alyssa eyes stung as she spotted the guards loitering in armchairs in the great room. Nehemia had every reason to deceive them, to plot against them, to tear apart this stupid competition and send everyone into a tizzy. Who better to target than the criminals living here? No one would miss them, but the fear would seep into the castle. But why would Nehemia plot against her?
Girl, you ain't that important.
That, but also I'm just sitting here like, okay, so now we're gonna have this whole, like, miscommunication thing, and I fucking hate it because we know that Nehemia is innocent, and I really, really, really do not like, and it leaves a bad taste, that pretty much the only prominent character of color is being now suspected of being a traitor to the white female protagonist, and oh, but I'm one of the good ones, and
it's like, no, girl, you're a literal criminal. I'm just over here like, listen. Nehemia has one purpose for being here, and it's not being your friend.
And like,
Nehemia has goals that she wants to fulfill that have nothing to do with your ass.
and also just, why is Selena so surprised that Nehemia has been hiding the depth of her skill? That's literally what she's been doing the entire time. Also, she hasn't been honest with Nehemia about who she is. Like, turnabout is fair play. Why would Nehemia tell you who, and obviously, I mean, maybe not obvious, clearly not obvious to Selena here, but if pretending to not be fluent in whatever language everyone else speaks...
Elway?
No, the other one. Because I'm talking about Nehemia.
Yeah.
Nehemia pretending that she doesn't know Aderlin's language as well as she does, so that she has an excuse to talk to someone in her language. Fucking duh.
Yeah.
Like, that alone would be reason enough to hide her fluency.
Yeah.
Plus, she's in a enemy territory as basically a political prisoner. Of course she's not going to show her whole hand.
Yeah, she's going to
That's how you fucking play this, Selena.
Yeah, you keep your cards close to your chest, you fucking assassin who should know this.
Like, I hate that this far into the book, they're trying to set up Nehemia to be someone suspicious, especially given that she is the only prominent character of color here. But
the only well-written woman.
Yeah, and the only well-written woman here. But I also hate how Selena reacts.
Yeah.
And it's just, it makes me feel gross.
I'm just over here like, girl, it's not about you.
Yeah, girl,
why are you trying to make this about you? This has nothing to do with you.
White woman makes it all about her. Shocking news at 11.
Yeah.
And that's it for this chapter. So, I mean, technically, I guess I was wrong. Things did happen here. But their execution was so bad that I almost wish they didn't. And
we had one good chapter. Now we have to go back to the ass.
Yeah, and I believe that the next chapter is one that we've been waiting for quite a while.
Boy.
I believe it's Yulmus next chapter.
Oh my.
So hopefully we'll see you then, and supporters will see us a little bit early. And I know that we've been kind of behind on recording these early for supporters. We're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
It's been crazy at work.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here, listening in, supporting the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you want to find writing that is, dare I say, almost as bad as this, because I don't think I'm willing to throw 13-year-old me under the bus so hard as to say it's worse than this. I think that from a storytelling, things happen on the page perspective, 13-year-old me might have this beat. You can become a supporter on Ko-fi, Patreon, or right here on YouTube. And it really helps us be able to continue to produce content, make videos, write books, get those books out to people. So thank you so much. We'll catch you in the next one. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. My deepest gratitude goes out to my supporters, who you'll see on screen here and also in the description. If you'd like, you could become a member of the Rose Garden by supporting me on Patreon, Ko-fi, or by buying my books. And don't forget that for an indie author like me, every like, comment, and subscription is a huge help. Good night, my lovely Rose Garden.